Greetings, explorers. Today we are back with another episode of In the Fog. Today's story is one about a man who fixed clocks, and about the nightmares he saw time after time. This tale may shock you, so those with a weak ticker might want to, well, I warned you. My name is Jeremy Allen. I used to work in my father's shop, Allen and Sons. We sold and repaired clocks. There isn't much money in it. Mostly just the elderly and collectors stop there. Everyone uses digital now. But every now and then someone needs a real clock repaired. One of these repairs has kept me up every night since I took the job. I was sent by my father to repair the clock in a historical clock tower. The city government, a couple towns down, was restoring it. Government contracts like this are really good for business. They pay well and you can take your time with them. This one I could even do by myself for the most part. The external clock face and hands were going to remain untouched. Only the interior mechanics needed repair. Apparently, about a decade ago, the entire top floor collapsed, taking all the gears and rods with it. Not to mention the motor. The construction crew had worked there a couple months before I arrived. Everything was repaired on the top floor and even repainted, sloppy as it was. The paint job made it look like they were in a hurry, and I now know that they were. I took the spiral staircase up and examined the clock. There was nothing there. I would have to start from scratch. I took my measurements and checked the connectors before heading to my motel for the night. The next morning, I got to work. I built a frame and started putting what parts I had with me in place. My younger brother bought me more gears and etc. the next day. The first couple of days were the easy ones. Day 3 was when I heard the ticking. It sounded like an old alarm clock that would sit by the bedside. Nothing I had installed would make a noise like that. I thought perhaps one of the painters had a timer with them to measure lunch breaks or something. Once the ticking stopped, I forgot it and continued working. Every single work day after that, I heard the ticking. I thought someone was playing a prank on me. I tried to drown it with music from my phone, but it's like the sound was coming from inside my head. One day I decided to clock out early and head to a local bar. Their drink selection was not very diverse, but they had one hell of a chicken wrap. It almost made me forget about the tower. Until I overheard some patrons chatting about it, that is. Apparently the old caretaker of the clock tower had been crushed when the first floor collapsed. They also mentioned that someone seemed to dig up the old caretaker's grave once the city started restoring the tower. I figured these were just drunk ramblings and left, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I looked it up on my phone, and the caretaker had indeed died in the accident. His grave was also found dug up, and his body was missing. I remember thinking that some real perverts must have lived there. Either that, or he angered someone in life. The next day I heard the ticking as usual. I was doing a pretty good job of ignoring it, until I heard the wooden floor creak near the tower entrance. I looked down and saw nothing. I looked out the window for my visitor, but no one was around. The next day the same happened, but I heard a hissing as well. Then one day I heard a creak on the stairs. I ignored it until I heard another creak, then another. The ticking returned, and I could feel the beats in my head. I decided to look down the spiral staircase, and I have regretted it ever since. At the bottom of the stairs stood a humanoid figure. The naked being stood with a hunch as it slowly moved up the stairs. Grotesque yellow skin had grown over every orifice the creature once had. Its long, pointed fingers lightly brushed the handrail as it advanced upwards. The worst thing about it was the gears. Rusty gears protruded from its twisted flesh. It seemed like the gears had grown out of it. I held my breath as I watched it from the top of the stairs. As it inched closer, I knew I had to flee, but how? The windows were not big enough to fit through, and this thing was coming up the only set of stairs. I grabbed the largest wrench from my tool set and crouched in the corner. I waited there as the creature climbed up the last of the stairs and entered the second floor. It seemed to feel its way around the room. As far as I could tell, the creature was blind. It hissed lightly as it prodded the gears with its long, pointed fingers. I started to move towards the stairs, but as I did, the floor creaked. The being turned sharply to face me. It started to move closer and closer to me. I raised the wrench to strike it, but deep down I knew the truth. I could not harm this thing. The gears proved that it had survived much worse. I threw the wrench across the room in an attempt to scare it off. But my plan did not work. Something even better happened. As the wrench hit the wall, the monster chased after the sound. I took my chance and bolted down the stairs. I was back home by nightfall. I never even had to explain my absence to the mayor, because the next day, the top floor collapsed again. This time it landed on a building inspector. In the rubble, they found a single rusted gear among the new ones. The police think that this gear became stuck in the others and caused the collapse, but I know what happened. The creature did it. It came there to collapse the floor with me in it. When I left, it just waited for someone else. The city wrote the tower off as a lost cause. The death put a bad taste in the community's mouth. I quit working at my father's shop. I sell insurance now. I don't think I can ever listen to a clock tick again. Whenever I hear one, I know the creature I saw could be near. I hope it never comes back for me. If it does, have me cremated. The building inspector who died? Yeah, his grave was dug up too. All that was left in his casket was a single rusty gear. Well, explorers, what do you think of this tale of horror? Is the clockwork creature responsible for all these deaths? Or is it simply another victim? Will the town be haunted by this creature, now that the clock tower is no longer in use? That is for you to decide. Join us next time when we reveal more scary tales from in the fog.